Thank you.
Great. Good.
It might seem crazy what I'm about to say.
He just turned 41. And what a sweet year it's been for Pharrell Williams. First, he had us up all night dancing.
We're up all night to get lucky. We're up all night to get lucky. Everybody get up.
And then caused a stir with and topped that by making pretty much the entire universe.
Clap along if you feel like a room without.
And then came the best news of all. Pharrell capped off the year by marrying his longtime girlfriend, Helen Lassie-Chan. For more than 2 decades,
Drop it like it's hot. Drop it like it's hot.
Pharrell has been the man behind hit after hit. For more superstars than we could count. And now, it's his turn in the spotlight. Pharrell and I met up in New York's Hell's Kitchen at Shop Studios, an industrial loft filled with his out-of-this-world art creations and collaborations.
How are you?
Oh, I see you. I just want to dance.
Clap along if you feel
I love the hat.
Thank you.
Awesome that we're together.
All right, guys, that's great. Ready? You know, I think it was the New York Times that said that this has been the year of Pharrell.
That was so weird for me.
Yeah.
Because you know me, like, I'm the guy standing next to the guy.
Yeah. Does it feel like that this has been the year of Pharrell? I mean, the fact that you have, who has ever had 2 songs competing for the #1 spot? Get Lucky and Blurred Lines at the same. Who's ever done that?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
It's overwhelming in the sense that, like, I know there's an equation for it.
Yeah.
I know it's not me. I know it's not my doing. So that's overwhelming. That's when it hit me. Because it was like, okay, if the people don't vote for the songs or request the songs or share or sing them or have any kind of reaction to them,
Right.
then they're just songs. So when that happens for you, you recognize like all the different parts of the universe that conspire to get you there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's overwhelming, and that's what's, but humbling though at the same time, because I realized that like I could just be the guy with the demo. But for whatever reason, the people hoisted me so high that like I know what the top of clouds look like.
Okay, so you must have a theory for why that happened. You say there's an equation for it, but there's also, I know, you can't have something like this happen to you
That's
and not
right.
think, why you and not the other guy?
Right.
Okay, and the answer is?
I think it was my environment. It was my natural propensities. And then thirdly, and most importantly, the people that I attribute most of my success to are those people who recognize those propensities in me.
Okay, so let's start with where you were born. The oldest of 3 boys, Pharrell spent his early years in the Atlantis apartment of Virginia Beach, Virginia. His mother, Carolyn, was a teacher, and his father, Pharrell, worked as a handyman. Fascinated by mathematics, space, and science fiction, Pharrell just didn't fit in at the time.
I didn't know why I was different, but I knew I was different.
Yeah.
And I knew I loved music, and this kind of goes back to your why me question. Because for me, every child, you know, the summers in the Atlantis apartments were like, you know, we're all playing follow the leader on our bikes, but then the grown-ups are like washing their cars as the sun go down, and they're all playing music. So in one court, you hear someone playing like Luther Vandross, In another court, you hear someone playing Stevie Wonder songs. And, you know, up front, which is what we call the front of the neighborhood, you hear somebody playing Rufus and Shaka Khan.
Wow.
That was my formative years. Music was so real to me, and it was so ubiquitous in my world as a child, that it was in the air everywhere that we went, that you could just cut it.
But don't you have this, like, it's called synesthesia?
Yeah, synesthesia.
Synesthesia, where you can hear, you see colors when you hear music?
Yes. But there are so many musicians that have that. All sounds have a color or association with it. So Stevie Wonder's a synesthete.
Yeah.
I may hear his chords and hear that there's like mustard and yellow and oranges and browns in that chord structure. And he may say, what do you mean? Those are turquoise. Because it's all based on the fact that when we're born, all of our nerve endings are together and they need to prune. So you have your 5 senses and some of them don't separate. So they send ghost messaging to the other nerve endings. For me as a child, I did not know that. But when I say why me, it's because all of my friends were beating on the desk in school. All of my friends could rap. All of my friends, you know, had some sort of propensity.
But you took your grandmother's pots and pans?
And I took her pillows, and I took her egg beater and the whisk, and I would make my little drum sets. And she said to me, you know, you like the drums. I'm gonna buy you a drum. I want you to learn. And I was like, okay.
At the age of 7, Pharrell and his family moved from the Atlantis apartment to the suburbs of Virginia Beach.
So I was introduced to a completely different life, different way of viewing the world. You know, it was like alien to me. Like, these people go places, and living in Atlantis, when you have the project mentality, you really don't travel but like 20 to 30 miles outside of your neighborhood, because that's like your safest place to be.
So interesting. Yeah.
But that was our world. I mean, that's where the music was. And so when I left that, I missed it, because I was alien in this new world, but I was open to it because it was I guess it was supposed to be, quote unquote, a better way of life. Yeah. And that is where I think my life changed, because it's where I met my first teacher, Mrs. Warren, my first band teacher. And then she would say, you know, I'm trying to teach you this lesson, and you keep making all these other drum noises. You need to pay attention. And so I did. Then I met my second music teacher, Mr. Warren. Then I met my third music teacher, Mr. Edwards, at Independence Junior. He tapped me and he kind of said, you know, you have something. Didn't know what it was, but you have something, and I'm going to have these people come check you out.
Could you feel that for yourself, though?
No.
You couldn't feel it?
All of my friends could do the same thing I could do. Okay. So I didn't understand what the difference was.
In 7th grade, Pharrell was selected for a Gifted and Talented program. That's where he met Chad Hugo, who would go on to become Pharrell's producing partner. The duo, later known as the Neptunes, developed into one of the most successful partnerships in music history. At one point, the two of them were responsible for a staggering 43% of all music being played on the radio in the United States. You know what's fascinating about you is that people look at this past year, including the New York Times and all the critics, and they say, this has been the year of Pharrell, when really the year Pharrell has been in the making since these days in high school. Do you think you would be able to sit atop that cloud that you described and look out from the space that you're in right now with a sense of humility, with a sense of grace and gratitude that you have, had you not had the journey?
No. I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't know my wife. I would not be here. Oprah.
You would not be here.
I would not be here. Life is a lesson, and it's as someone just said to me the other day, you know, it's a series of adjustments, and you have to start to recognize the signs. You know, one of my really important colleagues on my team, one of my managers, Karen Veazey, she suggested I read the book The Alchemist, and it changed my whole life, because I realized all of the people who had conspired to get me to this place.
Oh, I love The Alchemist.
Man, that book it will change your life. It's the one book.
You know what? Why? Because it absolutely shows you that if you have the desire, the universe will rise up to meet you exactly where you are.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. You have to be unafraid to dream.
Right.
And then you have to be even more brave and gallant about blueprinting what you've envisaged.
Yes.
You got to be brave about that.
So you read The Alchemist, and then
it was like clear to me. I was like, wow, Mrs. Warren, Mr. Warren, Mr. Edwards, Mr. Sharps, you know, all my band teachers, both of my grandmothers, one that saw that I had music in me, and one, wow, it's hitting me right now, one that saw my tool, and one that saw that I was going to have a message. My dad's mom was like, you know, I see you up there, like really, really up there. This was before I was in the music industry. But my grandmother said to me, I see you up there so high, and the people are going to look, and they're not going to know how you got there. But you're going to be up there. You up there in the clouds. And I caught myself the other day saying, you know, man, I know what the...
You know what that grandmother's vision
right.
has now
That's
become your reality.
It's like...
Whoa,
yeah.
whoa, whoa.
And the next thing you know, we put out the video, all of a sudden, boom. Why am I crying all over?
It might seem crazy what I'm about to say.
With an extraordinary 230 million views, Pharrell Williams' Oscar-nominated Happy has become a worldwide movement of joy rising.
Hot air balloon that could go to space.
In the past 5 months, over 100,000 people from around the globe have posted their own videos dancing to the happiest song on earth.
Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth.
How did Happy happen? First of all, we've watched your music evolve from that very first rap song. You were 17 years old.
Mm-hmm.
In 1992, after being discovered by legendary producer Teddy Riley, Pharrell co-wrote the hit song Rump Shaker.
Now let me see you shake your rump like a rump shaker. All I wanna do is
All right, so you couldn't have written Happy then.
No.
Do you have to be happy to write Happy?
My best songs come from two different ways. Either when I have a really good gut feeling about something, it's written in the shower or on a plane.
Shower's good, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's something about the water.
Yeah, sensory deprivation.
Is that what it is?
Yes.
Okay, thank you for that.
So yeah, some of my best verses come from there, right? And some of my best songs. But then, some of my crazy half-court shots, you know, where you just go,
Yeah.
swish. And it's not because you're that good. It's because you're out of ideas. And that's what happened. I hit zero. And I just hit a place of openness because I had nothing else left. I
had no mind space.
No mind.
No mind.
Zero.
No, zero.
Zero. Not up, not down, left or right.
In 2010, Pharrell wrote and co-produced the music for Despicable Me, the animated blockbuster about a lovable supervillain named Gru. Last year, he wrote Happy, the theme song for the film's sequel, Despicable Me 2.
So this evil protagonist, who's also very funny, Gru, they wanted to show, which was so genius, and I thank them so much for pushing me to get to this point. They wanted to show that the meanest man in the world, you know, the guy who's equally as mad as the Grinch, could be the happiest person in the world when it came to love. But I didn't get that. So
At first.
No, because my ego was like, you know, and that's, your ego is basically the confidence that we gather from what we consider to be factual. Oh, I got this. So Gru, well, he wouldn't be happy in this way. He would be happy in that way. First song, nope. Second song, close, but no. Third song, no. All the way to 9 songs.
9 songs?
9 different songs.
What was happening to your ego in that moment?
Gone.
Gone.
And that's when I realized the answer was sleeping in the question all along. Because once I realized that that's what it was, I was like, I've totally been overthinking this, and I didn't look back, and I just wrote and wrote and wrote until it was done.
So how do the words actually come to you? And what came first?
The chords.
The chords came first.
Yeah. The chords came first because I was like, oh, I just make what feels happy to me. So that took me to church.
Yeah.
You know, and church is dun-dun-dun, you know, they want to lift you up.
Yeah.
But then on the chorus, I just decided to go in a
I know, we feel the church in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so then the words was just kind of like, clap along if you... So I was like, uh-oh.
Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth.
I didn't know it was going to be anything, by the way. And proof of which, when the movie came out, which did like $1 billion, July 4th, the song, we couldn't get it on radio because it didn't sound like douche, 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 glow stick, glow stick, glow stick, trap, 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 hey. It didn't have any of that in it. So
we couldn't get it played on the radio.
So it wasn't like it was instant to people, but me and my wife, like when I first made it, we just were driving around looking at each other going, this feels good. Zero airplay, nothing. And the next thing you know, we put out the video on November 21st. All of a sudden, boom.
Boom.
I mean, when I say boom,
you mean
boom.
Boom. Yeah.
And we were like, what's happening? Okay, first of all, people are putting up their own videos.
Yeah.
It was like no longer my song.
Yeah. I think we actually have a tape. Can we roll the tape of that? When people started putting videos around the world of themselves getting happy.
It might seem crazy what I'm about to say.
Slovakia, Portugal.
You can take a break. I'm a hot air balloon that could go to space. With the air, like I don't care, baby, by the way.
It's just amazing.
Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Come on.
Makes me cry too. Makes me cry too. You know, I was just thinking about your grandmother. I bet she didn't even imagine that. No. No. Bet she didn't even imagine that. I know. I know. I know. It's beautiful. Beautiful. Beautiful.
Why am I crying on Oprah?
You know, it's being used for something that's greater than yourself. I get that.
It's overwhelming because it's like, I love what I do, and I just appreciate the fact that, like, people have believed in me for so long that I could make it to this point, to feel that. Sorry.
I get it. I really get it. I so now get why it's so infectious, because it came from such a clear space that the energy was absolutely uninterrupted by anything other than allowing it to flow from heart to heart. Yes. And that's what happens when you see it. Yeah.
Yes.
You can't imitate that.
I couldn't.
And make it any better.
I was always going to come in second.
Was getting married just sort of like putting a period at the end of an already great sentence?
Sometimes you work with people because they legends. Other times they just hot. Sometimes you work with people because there's a synergy there. We all work with a lot of different people in this business, but there's those special combination that you know just brings out the best in you.
So tell me, when you were and have been and still are alongside Jay-Z and all the other amazing artists that you have helped, when you were alongside them, did you have the desire to be the guy up front?
Maybe a decade before that.
Maybe a decade before that.
But that kept getting rained on.
Yeah.
You know those planes that, like, when they put out forest fires, they come out, yeah. You know, they just kept putting my fire out. Yeah. So I had accepted that I was going to be a writer and producer, and I was happy to be the guy standing next to the guy. And you know what? When I was given the opportunity to make a solo album the first time, there was more braggadocio in it than there was purpose and intention. And I beat myself up about that. Because I was like, here you are being given a platform and all you want to do is brag.
But you weren't ready.
I wasn't ready.
You weren't ready.
See, Jay and Puff were like my peers. And I wanted to be like them. And I misinterpreted what Jay was doing.
Yeah.
You know, I wanted, you know, the private jets, the girl, the this, the that, you know, and talk about that. And I injected some purpose, but I didn't realize that Puff was living his life. Yeah. He was serving his purpose. And Jay most certainly, in his way to will things to happen as he says them, you know, he was serving his purpose.
He's a great manifester.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. But the only thing I was paying attention to was the pixie dust and the magic trick, and not the purpose.
Yeah. You were looking at the external. You weren't looking at the internal.
100%.
That actually caused the external.
It was the aesthetic and not the vertebrae of what he was doing.
And wouldn't you say, though? I mean, I think what you're saying is so profound, gives me chills. That is really how so many people suffer, because they're looking at the outside. They want what that outside looks like, but they haven't stopped to look inside for their own truth, for what is real for them.
But you know, you have people that have been around you. I'm pretty sure you've learned that lesson. You've since shed those onion peelings. But you know, you've had people that look at you and go, "But why you?" Yeah. You know, well, if I had this, I would be. No, you don't understand what it takes to do this. This is what I do every day. When the video goes off for you, I'm still somewhere working. And
also, I say to people, you know, I learned early on that I could be a better Oprah than Barbara Walters. And you had to learn that Jay already has that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Puff already has that.
Yes.
All right. So you can't imitate that.
I couldn't.
And make it any better.
I was always going to come in second.
Always going to be in second.
I had made a decision. I'll just do, you know, bigger records for the Beyoncés, the Jay-Z's, you know, the Gwen Stefani's, you know, all those people who have been so nice and, again, conspired to give me this path. So I never expected 2013.
You didn't just get lucky, you got lucky.
Get lucky. That's right.
Once again, I give it to the universe, because I know I didn't buy those records. Those are people, man. The people lifted me up this high.
Something happened that conspired for this particular moment in time for you.
And it's humbling, because you know that, right?
I know.
You know it's not your doing. It's crazy to me. Blurred Lines taught me something.
When that song went crazy last summer, what did you think? Did you feel that, though? You felt that one? Did you feel that one coming?
I didn't feel that one.
You didn't feel that either?
No. That song taught me a lot. What I learned was not exactly what you would expect. It wasn't what some of the critics, you know, some of the feminist women were feeling about it. Yeah. Because I can explain that. But I got quite the opposite. Most of them got the message that most women are good girls, but even good girls have bad thoughts. And so there's a blurred line. You don't need no papers. That man is not your maker. And that's why I'm gonna make you good girls. There are people who like to soundbite and says, well, you said women are animals. You're such a misogynist. All I was saying was, that man is not your maker. Meaning, he is not the creator, and he is not a part of the evolution, the physical part where it comes from.
Right, right.
He cannot give birth. He cannot make an egg. I was saying, that man is not your maker. You don't need no papers. You're not a possession.
I know.
And that was the point. But what I had learned out of that song was that, like, man, I had a much bigger demographic. So I instantly knew that I wanted to make the album I always wanted to make, which was devotion to a demographic that had been taking care of me and my family for over 20 years, and that was women.
Pharrell has recently started using his voice to shine a spotlight on women's rights.
You realize how sad it is that there is a perception that is catered to every day called a male-dominated world.
Yeah.
A man can't make an egg. A man can't give birth. If women wanted to, in this country, if they wanted to shut this country down, all they had to do is not go to work and not come home. Economy?
The thought.
Done.
Just the thought.
Done.
Yeah.
If
not
women,
go to work and not come home.
Right?
Never thought of it that way before.
Left up to men,
Yeah.
we fight, we war over
Yeah.
nations,
Yeah.
right? Left up to men. I'm not attacking men, I'm a man. But all I'm saying is, if women got tired of the way that we were handling ourselves as a species, all y'all got to do is hold hands and not make any more babies, and we're done.
Yeah.
That's my thing, equality. We need it. I just thought to myself, is this the time that we're going to be divisive? I don't live my life trying to be black.
Do I do?
Yeah.
Oh my God. At one point during the interview, Pharrell broke out his ultimate top 5 playlist.
Oh, that's fantastic. When you sing in the crowd.
Oh. Love that one. Do I do? Yeah?
Okay, I have to go here.
Okay.
So I gotta get up in the morning.
I mean, that was like...
Some were my all-time favorites, too.
Oh my God. There's a picnic, Memorial Day. That song will be played.
And others, well...
So what's the scenario?
But we both agreed on this all-time favorite. Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah.
We all. Do you remember? Oh yeah.
So let me ask you this. So with all the, you know this, I know this all too well, that you achieve a certain level of success, and no matter who you are, the critics come after you.
Oh yeah.
So when you did this beautiful new CD,
yes, ma'am,
and you did the cover, and the critics came out, haters came out and said, "Where are the black women on the cover?"
Yeah.
What did you think?
Well, instantly, because I'm an Aries,
Yeah.
so I got heated.
You got heated.
Because unfortunately, the girl closest to me,
Yeah.
like the one who's closest to my face,
Yeah.
is a girl that I used to date, and she is African American. And I thought, you know,
But you weren't thinking that when you did it, like, oh, she's light-skinned, African.
No, I'm a weirdo, man. Like, if you look at the first NERD album cover, Shay's on the cover playing PlayStation.
Ah.
I wasn't even on it. Like, I just do things left of center.
Yeah.
So those that know me would understand that.
Yeah.
But I just thought to myself, is this the time that we're going to be divisive? Because while I was doing this album cover, Happy was like rising,
Yeah.
and I was becoming the first African American in a full year to hit #1.
Yeah.
It had been a year. So I was like, wow, is this the time that we're going to pick to be divisive? So then I went on to explain that she is African American, and I used to date her, and it must suck to be a black girl of that color because you're being questioned whether you're
black. Are you black enough?
Are you black enough?
Yeah, are you black?
So her dad is black.
Yeah.
Her mom is white. But then I was
Which
like, well,
that
man,
black enough question makes me insane.
it drives me up the wall, because here's my thing. I'm like, why are we having this conversation? There was a girl named Lauren Rogers that Instagrammed a picture with her in her robe, right?
Which has become a thing.
Yeah, because we're trying to, like, that's
thing.
like, you know, trying to do...
all the women in their robes.
Yeah, like, put your robe on. Like, a new definition of sexy is putting your robe on.
Your robe on.
Right?
I say the girls putting their robes on is kind of the opposite of a blurred line.
The very opposite.
The very opposite.
Right. So, she puts it on there, and the meanest comments come out of nowhere. And I'm like, see, this is what I did not want to happen.
Why?
Because you make an issue about, like, you know, first it was I didn't have no black girls on there. Then it instantly turned into they weren't dark enough. So then when, like, a brown-skinned girl were to go and try and put on her robe, she gets attacked.
Wow.
So right now, like, I'd like to...
When are we going to stop it? When are we going to stop it?
So that's what I'm saying. Let's right now take this time to do something wonderful for Lauren and have all the positive people go out there and follow her on Instagram. She's the Lauren Rogers. That's how
brown-skinned girl in a
you.
white robe.
Love you. Kisses,
Love it.
boo.
Recently, on GQ.com, Pharrell responded to the controversy over his album cover with a term he called the new black. So what is the new black?
The new black doesn't blame other races for our issues. The new black dreams and realizes that it's not a pigmentation, it's a mentality. And it's either going to work for you or it's going to work against you. And you got to pick what side you're going to be on.
You choose to be on.
You choose to be on. The name of my album is not called Race, it's called Girl. Okay? It's for the female species. Okay? That's number one.
Yeah.
Number two, my mama is black. My mom is a huge part of my business. And
but why
my
do we
wife
have
is black.
Why do we have to justify
our
blackness?
But because there are certain people who allow the delusion in the mirror, in their own mirrors, to become issues. Yeah. You should not find confidence outside of your mirror. Why are you sharing your delusion? Whatever that air, that space is between you and your mirror, what does that have to do with me?
Yeah.
This is my work.
Yeah.
And listen, I recognize that there are issues. People, we get judged on our skin. Look, I just stated the fact that there hadn't been an African American, so we look at things like that, but I don't allow that to run my life. Yeah. What I allow to run my life...
African American at the top of the charts.
Right.
Yeah.
And I appreciate it.
Yeah.
But...
For a year, right? For a whole year.
Yes, for a whole year. I appreciate it, but I don't live my life trying to be black. What I do is I nurture my curiosity in music. I'm proud to be what I am.
Yeah.
So my thing is, the new black is a mentality. You don't do things because you're black. You do things because you're genuinely interested in something. Is there a lot of black inequality? Absolutely. But I'm the main one waving the flag. What do you mean? Don't find your confidence in a cover. Find your confidence in the mirror.
Yeah. And your success means it's possible for more people of color to be successful.
100%.
Period.
Period.
God, you're a soulful thinker. Really. What was it about Helen, though? What was it about her that you said, this is it?
When I first saw you, I got excited. Tried to keep my composure, trying to hide it, but I didn't know.
My Helen, my little son Rocket. All of these people are an enormous motivational force in my life. They keep me going. The reason why I wake up every day and just go so hard. And at the end of the day, I do it for them.
Come on, Rocket, we're going to the moon.
So what was the best part of your year last year? A lot happened.
Yeah, I mean...
You got married.
Yes.
Was getting married just sort of like putting a period at the end of an already great sentence?
Yeah. Best friend.
Best friend.
Period.
Period.
Yeah.
What was it about Helen, though? What was it about her that you said, this is it?
She just reminded me so much of myself. Like, different, marched to the beat of her own drum. But it was different than the rest of the girls who were like completely made up, and she just stood out. And I was like, who and what is that? I just knew, and so I walked up to her and I asked.
You wanted to make a baby with her?
Well, not then. Not then. But I knew at some point something was going to happen.
Yeah.
I was just so enamored by the moment I was having with her. I just wanted to read that book. I didn't care what was in it. We love music. So we were both huge Tribe Called Quest fans. So that just cemented that every girl that I had a very serious relationship had to love Tribe. And if they didn't, it just...
That's it.
It just didn't work. It just didn't make sense.
Deal breaker?
Yeah.
What would be the other deal breakers for you in relationships? What's a deal breaker?
Trust was always a huge thing for me, and honesty. And though those things were huge issues for me, I didn't know how to do that in the very beginning, so I broke a lot of hearts, you know. You know, there's no college course on how to be in the music industry.
Did you lose your mind a little bit?
Yeah.
Yeah, lost your mind.
100%. It was like, you mean anything? What, you know, any of the women?
Anything and anybody and as many as I want.
But this is what I was saying to myself, like, you mean her too? But I was different. I was more like, don't laugh, but it was, seriously, it was like the secretaries.
Really?
Yeah, that was like my thing. The secretaries and the older women.
Really?
They taught me everything. And that's where I spent most of my time. So I did have younger girlfriends sometimes, but I was, when I cheated, it was with the older women.
Was Helen be able to put up with your life?
Well, she didn't answer half of my text messages.
Oh, that's good, right? And that intrigued you?
Egotistically, no. I was like, oh yeah? Because I had that kind of money and because I had that kind of, you know, I had that kind of reach. I thought I was entitled. And I had to learn that, like, no, she has a boyfriend and she's not interested. And
so you all started out as friends first?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, for like two and a half years.
Yeah.
And I hurt her a lot in the very beginning once she was free and was available. You know, she, you know, I had given her all this attention, but I wasn't ready to, like, let go. And I looked at my life and I was like, man, I can keep doing this for another 10 years. Is that what I want to do? And so I made a decision. And then we made a decision and we just started dating, and
now you're married.
Yeah.
So what does being a father, how has that affected your view of your place and calling on earth?
I still make the music that I was making before, and I realized this way before Rocket was born, you know.
Why'd you name him Rocket?
Because we, in the same way that the Indians name their children, like behind a force or an animal or an element, we named them after a man-made machine that was meant to go up, meant to ascend. And metaphorically, it was because of, you know, Stevie Wonder's Rocket Love, Elton John's Rocket Man, and Herbie Hancock's Rocket. All of my favorite musicians. And his middle name is not Man, it's Air, after Roy Ayers.
But if you're named Rocket Air, you're definitely a kid who's born to soar.
Yeah.
So one step at a time, let's get the moon.
So I once heard you say that the only thing that really matters is what's real. So what's real for you?
Love. Love is real. And the potential of us as a species, that's very real to me. What's not real are the things that you can't take with you. Scientists tells us that all of these things are atoms, right? And if we could really see what they look like on a super magnified level, it's just wispy fluff. But when you die, you can't take this with you, so it's not real.
it all really is just wispy fluff.
Right.
But you know, easy for you to say, easy for me to say.
Right.
Because you're sitting here in your pretty green hat. Okay, so you're sitting here and you're bejeweled and bedazzled, and we have the life that we live sitting atop the clouds. It's really kind of easy to say that, because I think so many people think, well, if I just had that, if I had your money, your square footage, if I had your life, I would be okay.
You would be wrong. Those are all the wrong things. If you had all the people that conspired to get me here, you may be in the same place.
Mm-hmm.
If you had all the momentum and all those individuals and the belief and the support, you may be here. But it wasn't the money. It wasn't the fame. It wasn't any of those things. It was all of the people that continued to say, hey, you have something.
Mm-hmm. And this is a byproduct. This and this and this is a
100%.
byproduct.
I know that none of this is my doing. I know I'm just a puzzle piece in this big mosaic that the universe conspired to happen. And I'm happy being that little comma in the sentence. I really am. Like and this height that the people have lifted me to, like I'm so ever so grateful. It only puts an exclamation mark behind me understanding my purpose.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This was